Hey everyone, my name's Lane Rocks and you've just tuned in to Rocks Manor. Alright, so here we go. The last video I did was what I'm referring to as COVID video 1. This is COVID video 2, which is basically like as we're kind of going through what we're going through here in the US and of course obviously globally. I just kind of want to crack out a video, just like a single take in regards to kind of what my thoughts and feelings are on it. So let's see, the last video I talked about that I really felt that the federal government, not normally my opinion, but the federal government really needed to do, government needed to do something kind of across the board with all the states to be on the same understanding of what's going on here and the severity, because as of at that point and then even now still different states are kind of treating this differently. So it's kind of difficult to be in, let's say, Virginia and say, okay, all of our schools are closed for X amount of time. Then you have other states that their schools aren't closed at all. So I feel that really sends a differing message to people as to how much they should be, taking any of this seriously. So at that time I had said that I felt that the federal government really needed to come out with something sweeping, saying that this was going to be, something that we were taking not state by state, but the whole nation was going to be doing this one plan. But I kind of get now, I think it was President Trump that had mentioned that over time, there are certain states that aren't hit as bad, which I think can kind of be can kind of be a talking point as far as, some states haven't done as much testing as others and whatnot. So you can't really necessarily say that some states don't have any COVID or hardly have any COVID, but I understand what he's saying in that, if you take a very spread out state that the population is not, living close or whatnot, it's a little bit more difficult to say, let's shut down that whole state. I also think that as time has gone on, I'm kind of understanding a little bit more about our government as far as what would make sense for there to be a federal blanket mandate versus a state-by-state decision by the governor. So I'm kind of getting a better picture of that in regards to, whether it does make sense from a governmental standpoint, and what actions can be taken state by state versus federal. So I'm kind of getting a bigger picture on things, I guess, but at the same time I do think that one of the big problems is that people in general are not getting the same message state by state. So anyway, so that was kind of like my big thing on the last video. Let's see, I feel like really background wise, like my husband and I had mentioned this before, we're kind of news junkies. So we had been seeing what was going on with coronavirus as far back as I think 2 or 3 months ago, just what was going on in China. And we felt like that we were ready to be prepared for something that was going to end up here on our shores. So I think the majority of people did not take any attention to this topic until it was something happening locally, which in particular was schools closing. So I don't know, I think maybe a lot of people don't watch the news or otherwise just aren't really concerned about what's going on in the world. And I don't even think that's necessarily a bad thing. People are just wrapped up in what's going on in their everyday life with their jobs, their families and whatnot. But I do think that probably has kind of shaped a lot of the narrative that people have in general, because it wasn't until, again, the local schools were closed and there's kind of this domino effect of things that are going on now, that now it's kind of like on the forefront for people. So I don't really know what's going to happen in the next couple of weeks. I am hopeful, but at the same time a little bit nervous too, because we also see what's going on with the economy and what's been going around with the stimulus bill getting kicked around. And I do find it agreeable in a sad sense that the stimulus bill was not agreed upon within the first day or two, because I think that it's a lot of money and things that need to be agreed on or kind of shaped. But moving forward, I don't really know what's going to end up happening, and I don't know. I got a lot of thoughts on that, but I don't even know how to articulate half of them. So, all right, let's see. There's just kind of like some things that I'm learning so far. And before I jump into this, I do want to give a shout out, or however you want to say it, to the artist of this thing here that I found online. It was originally posted on Facebook, and then I searched around until I could find the supposed artist of who did it, and I got permission through that post. I was asking, is it this girl who had done it? And this is like shocking to look at. I mean, look, it's Caitlin, I think, Kirian. I'm not sure if I'm reading that right, but I did ask the person who had originally posted that online, which is apparently her teacher, if I could kind of credit her, because I think this is a picture that's going to end up going viral, and because it is a piece of artwork, I do think that it's very important that we do give credit where credit is due. And that's, I mean, look at that. Like, I don't know. That's just, it's heartbreaking. It's heart-wrenching. It's, I don't know. We could all say that, you know, this is just kind of like their thing as a generation that they're going to end up, you know, always remembering and whatnot. But at the same time, like, I think moving forward, a lot of things are not going to be the same. And this is kind of where I go into, you know, the things that I've learned in the last couple of weeks. So let's see. The first one here I have is that most of us are still only reading headlines. So I mentioned last week an article in particular where it was saying that Amazon was shutting down warehouse deliveries or something like that, where it did seem very inflammatory and scary, but at the same time, if you actually read the article, it was stating that what they were doing, that if you actually read it, you could see that it was saying that what was happening was they were not doing storage of non-essential items, right? So like if you have ever bought something random on Amazon, like a 3-inch tall mushroom that had a red hat or something. It was like a little clay figurine. I don't know, I'm making that up. But that's the kind of stuff that they're not going to have in their warehouses as much, because what they want to house is things like toilet paper, hand soap, cleaning products, like things that people actually are searching for, which I think this is really smart on Amazon's behalf. However, people can understand and see that this is kind of detrimental to those small businesses who do use Amazon as a shipping platform. So I do feel for them for sure, but at the same time, that article that had come out, or it was a kind of a post people were sharing virally, it wasn't as dire as it sounded. It sounded like we weren't going to get things from Amazon at all, but whereas we just needed to read critically and actually see, simply past the click, that, you know, it wasn't as bad as it was sounding. So anyway, so yeah, so most of us are still only reading the headlines. The next thing is here, and I can totally co-sign on this myself, is that most of us have no idea how our government works, and I think this is absolutely true. This is something I'm finding out too, just like I had said last week, that I felt that the federal government needed to do something sweeping, some type of mandate, but it probably is better now that the local / really government of that state itself is handling things. You know, it's locally managed is what the White House keeps putting out. That probably is a better idea. I'm kind of still 50-50 on that thought process, but I do understand that there's more than I could possibly even think as far as what goes into this. So, and so the next one is that there is a difference between unemployment and stimulus. So the stimulus that's been talked about, as far as the bill that's been kicked around, we really still have to stay tuned to see what's going on with that. As of me recording this, which is the 24th of March, at 3 p.m. I don't think anything's actually been agreed on yet, but it's been kicked back and forth. As I mentioned recently, like a couple minutes ago, I do think it's good that, I mean, it sounds terrible because we're waiting, but I do think it's good that it's being kicked back and forth, as far as I think that some type of process still needs to be done as far as like making sure that we're covering whatever, you know, corners we need to cover, but at the same time, one party or another may be sticking some things in this bill that doesn't necessarily need to be in this bill, and so I think time needs to be done to be like some kind of get some of this fluff washed out. So that's the only thing I'm going to say on that. Let's see. So yeah, so some people will be filing for unemployment, which is a state / federal insurance program, basically, which I never really knew a lot about unemployment, but I'm Googling it. I'm learning about it because stuff I want to know. I think we think of, and we hear of this stimulus thing because they're going to write checks to everybody and whatever, but like, really, what does that mean? There's supposed to be like some kind of caveat of cutoff. I don't know if it was, if you make 99,000 or 70,000, or they're talking about if you make less than 40,000, you're not going to be applicable for it or whatever. Well, is that because you're going to end up filing for unemployment? I don't know. There's just so much out there and there's so much speculation, but there's so much speculation because people are scared. There are people who definitely live paycheck to paycheck in this country, and this is a huge deal for them. So I can't blame them for being scared and whatnot, but answers are going to come. I believe answers are going to come. I do not think that a large sector of the gig economy, which is people who are hourly wages or just small project bases, I don't think they're going to get left out of whatever this big plan is, but the big plan is going to take some planning. So my fingers are just crossed that everybody's going to be looked out after and things are going to go smoothly for the next couple of months, even though this is a huge deal that's going on. So all right, so let's see. Another one is that most of us don't know where to get information outside of Facebook. And that probably sounds silly because we do know where to get it, but we're not getting it. We're depending on things just running down our Facebook feed, or maybe even Instagram. I don't know. I doubt it. It's mostly Facebook though. And Facebook in itself is a great tool. And even if you love Fox or you love CNN and you're seeing their news feeds, you know, or their stuff's coming in your news feed, the fact of the matter is we really should be getting our information from specific places, such as, let me look at my computer here. Yeah, such as the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, which is here in the US. Look at that right there on the front page is all about coronavirus, which we can learn about more about COVID-19. We also have things in regards to symptoms, older adults, and then how to protect yourself. So moving along also from the local area, which is where I'm at, Virginia Beach. Coronavirus has got its own page here on the Virginia Beach website. Moving over again, virginia.gov, which is my specific state. They've got their own page on that as well, health and safety measures. And then especially, these are things that are really important, is the public information that has come out in regards to what is banned, what is acceptable, what is on a non-essential business list, all that stuff. So it's like people are only getting their information on what's going on from like some snippet article that's been posted on Facebook, whereas where we should really be going to figure this out is going to the actual websites and seeing, so we can actually see comprehensive full lists. Next up is the coronavirus.gov, which I do believe that link came from the White House. Yeah, so I had initially gone to whitehouse.gov, and it actually took me to coronavirus.gov once I clicked on coronavirus. So there is a ton of information out here that I feel like people are really only like depending on their Facebook newsfeed, which is their friends too. And a lot of times their friends are sharing things that trolls posted. And yes, trolls is a thing even in such like a giant pandemic situation that we've got going on here now. So all right, another thing that I have learned is that I could never be in politics. So whether that would be President of the United States, Vice President, anyone on the Hill, you know, being a senator, being a congressperson, oh my gosh, being a governor, being any type of delegate, all the way down to the mayor of a city, which that in itself I learned was obviously such a treacherous job. This last year at my city of Virginia Beach, we had the mass shooting here at our in our courthouse area, and you know, the mayor. I couldn't even that situation. Like, I think what's going on right now, we're looking at the higher government levels, but a mayor, even just from an everyday situation, like there's no way I'd want to be mayor either, which goes on to city council, and of course then school boards, which yesterday our governor came out, Ralph Northam, saying that he was going to close down schools for the rest of the school year. And since we don't really know what that means, he did say, or I think it was in a release later that I read, that further information or how this is going to be handled will be on a district by district basis. So who does that fall to? Okay, now our city school board, right, who at this time, decisions haven't, I mean, I'm sure they've been in their hands, but they haven't been. Ralph Northam is the one who closed the schools for 2 weeks, right? So that wasn't something that they had to do. And then now here they are, between the school board and the superintendent, they're going to have to make a decision of how they're going to handle the rest of the school year now. So yes, I could never be in politics, which oddly enough is a school board position too, because it's actually, they're voted in. That's why you see these signs all around town. So I wouldn't want to be on the school board either. So another thing I learned, because I looked it up, was that a pandemic, the actual definition is that it is prevalent over a whole country or the world. Now, obviously I kind of like cut that down a little bit, but yeah. To be a pandemic, it is something that is prevalent basically all over the world or in your country. Whereas an epidemic is a widespread occurrence in a community. Obviously, a community is much smaller versus a country versus, you know, a global issue. So when it really comes down to it, people have been using epidemic and pandemic interchangeably, and you shouldn't, because it's legitimately not the same thing. Let's see, getting a test is somewhat pointless. So everybody's talking about these coronavirus tests. Well, the reason why they don't want you to get the test, unless you have symptoms or whatever, is because if you have it, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but unless you're having severe health issues or you have those underlying issues, it doesn't really matter, because you can go get this test. Let's say 3 weeks ago, you got a test and you're like, yeah, I don't have coronavirus. Cool, you just got it from a gas pump handle on your way home. So you have this false sense of, and of course I'm kind of shooting from the hip here, this is what I'm assuming. You have this false sense of like, well, I don't have coronavirus because I got this test a couple of weeks ago. Cool. But you could have caught it since then. Like, so getting a test really doesn't do anything. The test is to help them figure out the direction of care for somebody who is actually having health issues with it, which is why we're all kind of on this house arrest thing going on, whatever, because we're just assuming that we all have it, which we probably all do. We all have coronavirus at this point, or a good majority of us have it, so we might as well stay home and keep from infecting other people who have not gotten it, who are going to transmit it to people who are in those treacherous categories of people who are actually at risk for having severe health complications with it. Let's see, I did mention earlier, party lines are still a thing even during a pandemic. Well, I didn't mention that, but just in regards to nothing that's going to come out right now are the Republicans going to be happy about. Nothing that comes out right now are the Democrats going to be happy about. And the Libertarians are going to be standing back anyway. So when it really comes down to it, I think in the first few days of this, we might have been, well, I want to say we might have been unified, but not really, because again, from state to state, we've got people saying, well, you're just making a big deal about this. It really isn't a big deal, whatever. But here we are, I want to say a week in, but really globally, we're much further along than that if you've been paying attention to the news. But I'm here in the US, we're about a week to 10 days in to kind of accepting that there's a problem right now. And people are still angry at the opposing party for everything. So, which maybe in some instances are absolutely like good reasons to be mad about. But either way, I don't think that anything could have come out recently that people aren't going to be throwing grenades left and right. So that's what I think. That's what I see happening here. Let's see, another one is that we are incredibly vulnerable to incorrect info. I mentioned earlier about not knowing where, or it seems that we don't know where to get right info. So as soon as people see that Terry Grakowski, whoever that is, shared this angry thing, it's full of vitriol and it hates Trump, or it's angry thing and it's vitriol and it hates Nancy Pelosi or whatever, and then they reshare it because, oh, well, it's got thousands of shares on it, or my friend shared this, blah, blah, share. Do you even know this person? Why are you resharing this stuff? No. And it's salacious. It's trying to, again, throw grenades. It's trying to create division. There's a million and 12 things that we try to say that people are trying to create division in this country, but we are doing it ourselves on Facebook. Like, stop sharing this stuff, because the majority of it's not true. In the outset, I have this hair across my face, and in its outset and in its inception, the whole point was to create division in the country, and all you're doing is continuing that. Think twice about what you're sharing, or think not at all. Just go, yeah, that's dumb. I don't even know this person. Scroll on by. I mean, that's my RX on it. Let's see, another one. Just wash your hands, people. I feel like that kind of phrase really oversimplifies the issue. So we just heard yesterday, I think it was, or the day before, that Rand Paul, who is a doctor, a physician, he tested positive for coronavirus. Pretty sure he washes his hands. Like, I'm pretty sure this guy washes his hands. So when people kind of say it with this like negative, just wash your hands, people, like, and maybe I'm tone policing, maybe I'm kind of like getting a little riveted here, but like, I see it a lot online and people saying it, and I just kind of like smile, like, just wash your hands. It isn't about just washing your hands. There's different parts of this scenario that all together we need to be doing, and it's not just about washing your hands. Not to mention, your hands are not the only thing that are carrying germs. Like, you could brush up against something with your forearm, you could be coughed near, like there's sputum or whatever, like people are getting on them and then carrying it on somewhere else. And when it really comes down to it, also I've seen where they talk about the amount of time that the virus is actually living on non-porous surfaces, so like steel or plastic or whatever it is. And that was something that one of my kids' doctors mentioned about 2 weeks ago when we took the kiddo in for a post-surgery checkup, the surgery that was completed about 6 weeks ago, so it was a post-surgery follow-up. And the doctor had said that he had been reading and was really shocked to find out how long this virus was living on surfaces. So to me, just like consistently throwing out, like, you just need to wash your hands, people, like, it's not just people not washing their hands. That's not how this is getting spread. There's more to this. So I just say, like, kind of be careful how you are spitting that phrase out, because it really does oversimplify the issue. And I don't know, at this point I'm probably just rambling about it, but every time I read that, it kind of just gets me. I'm like, man, it's not just about washing your hands. Like, there's so much more. That's why we're doing social distancing, or we should be, staying away from public places. I don't know. I guess we can kind of look at this from a million different angles, but at the end of the day, I kind of think that I don't know what's going on. This is huge. This is huge. And people act like just washing our hands is supposed to be solving it. At the end of the day, I feel like, I was telling my husband this, and I think I was telling my dad this the other day too, I feel like I focus on this topic so much at times. I'm not like enveloped by it, but I focus on it so much that there's points in time where I can understand the decisions that are being made, the greater good and whatnot, you know, everything that's going on with our economy, you know, the risks, and, you know, trying to save these people who are like medically compromised and or older people or anybody with underlying heart. Like, I get it, the underlying health issues, I get it. And at the same time, I think about it too much or too hard, and it's almost like trying to imagine the black hole, right? Like, I'm like, yeah, I know what it would look like with nothing, right? If like before there was the world, there was, yeah, I get it, yeah. And then it's like all of a sudden it goes like this, and I'm like, no, I don't get it. So it's kind of how I feel about this whole thing with COVID, with our strategy here in the US of how we're trying to combat this. I do personally feel we're a little bit behind the curve. I'm just going to leave that there in regards to the moment when we started taking this serious, if we're even taking it serious now. But I don't know, like, it's like trying to imagine the black hole, trying to imagine nothingness, right? In my mind, it's like, I see it. I get, okay, yeah, I get it. I get what we're doing. I get why it matters. I mean, I'm always going to get why it matters, but I mean, the math, right, of what's happening. I like get it. And then all of a sudden it's like my brain pops and I go, no, I really don't get it. Especially once I see what's going on with the economy. So I don't know. At the end of the day, we're all going to survive this. We're all going to be fine. And I don't know. That's just sad. I want to show you again this picture that I talked about at the beginning. And I don't know, it just really was moving to me yesterday when I saw that. It was initially in a Virginia Beach schools post. Somebody had posted it in the comments, and then I clicked back to get to the original post. And again, it was a teacher who had posted saying that one of her students, I guess, had submitted that. And I don't know, I personally think that this picture is going to end up going viral because it really says a lot. So, and that's what art's supposed to do. It's supposed to move you, right? Make you think, make you feel an emotion. So anyway, thanks for tuning in. This is a super long video. It's like 22 minutes of me rambling, but hopefully it was interesting enough to get like 4 people to watch it. So, otherwise, I guess I feel a little bit better. My foot is on this footstool, so that's why you keep hearing this like thing here. But anyway, I guess I'll see you guys on the next one. And whatever you're doing, I hope you're being safe. Make sure you just wash your hands. I kid. No, wash your hands, but like, I don't know, practice the other stuff. Do the social distancing. Get outside. A lot of us need that, especially that vitamin D. Obviously myself, because I'm like super pale right now. It's always weird recording during the daytime in front of the window because I look super washed out. But actually, this is me. I'm pretty pale. Not on purpose. It's just how I've been. I guess I'll talk to you guys later, or hear you guys later, or whatever. I don't know. Post in the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. If you have any questions about anything, especially how our family is handling all this inside or / like not going anywhere time, we are very lucky to have a deck that we put in this last year, and then the weather has otherwise been great. So it is nice that even on chilly days we go outside, so we have some outdoor space, and we live in a really good neighborhood that we can go for walks on. So, but if you have any questions about how we're handling it or any ideas of things you could do with your family, write me down in the comments, and I might write that up in my next video. All right, talk to you guys later. Bye.